Joining me now with reaction to all of this is the chairwoman of Keep America Safe, Liz Cheney. Liz, thanks for being with us. Look,
thank you for having me, John.
All right, let me ask one first blunt question. Does this increase the likelihood that America will be attacked in the future?
Well, I think it is an unconscionable decision, at the very least, Sean. I think that, if you think about what this president is doing simultaneously, he is refusing to give our troops on the battlefield in Afghanistan the resources, the reinforcements that they need to win on the battlefield against the enemy. And at the same time, he's now announced that he'll be bringing terrorists onto U.S. soil and giving them a platform in a courthouse that's 6 blocks away from where over 2,000 Americans were killed on 9/11, giving them a platform where they can preach jihad, where they clearly have a much bigger recruitment tool than they could have developed themselves. And I think it's indefensible.
You see, I think of all my criticism of the president, I think this is the most reckless, dangerous, and irresponsible decision that he has made this far. But isn't all of this rooted in the fact he doesn't think that there's a war on terror? He thinks this is a man-caused disaster. Philosophically, he thinks this is a criminal matter, not an act of war. So isn't that somewhat then consistent with his viewpoint?
Yeah, actually, Attorney General Holder said as much in one of the interviews that he gave on Friday after the announcement. He said, we are treating this, meaning Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and his co-conspirators, we are treating this just like any other criminal case. Well, that's like saying Pearl Harbor was just another criminal case. And, you can go down the list of all of the ways that this decision endangers the United States, that this decision, in fact, gives a platform to al-Qaeda, to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. The bottom line, though, is that this demonstrates conclusively that we are going back to a pre-9/11 mentality. And when you think about what that means, it's one thing to treat terrorism like a crime before you've been attacked the way we were on 9/11. Once, we're looking at this with hindsight and we know where that path leads, it's just simply an indefensible and insufficient way to defend the nation. Right, if your enemy is waging war against you and you just issue indictments, then you can't prevail in those circumstances.
All right, so let's just look in the future. So this is going to be a circus. This trial will probably go on for years. We probably will telegraph to our enemies, the methods by which, we use to extract information, et cetera. In that sense, it seems to me that they want to put almost the Bush administration and their policies on trial. And because, we didn't Mirandize Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, because we used enhanced interrogations to get more intelligence than we would have gotten from our intelligence community. What does that mean? Is there a chance he gets off the hook now?
Well, look, I think, the Attorney General has got himself in a very precarious situation because on the one hand, he seems to be guaranteeing convictions. On the other hand, he's saying this is going to be a free and fair trial. I mean, you're sort of in the land here of fantasy. And at the end of the day, we're at war. And there's no part of the Attorney General or the President's obligation, leading the nation at a time of war that involves reading Miranda rights. Yeah. I think that we need to urge Congress to bring back up the legislation that they voted down just a few weeks ago here that would have barred the transfer of terrorists from Guantanamo to U.S. soil. There were 5 very brave Democrats who voted with the Republicans in the Senate on that amendment. I think we need to urge them to bring it back up again, and we need to hold those Democratic senators who vote against that amendment accountable and responsible. Yeah. They ought to hear from their constituents on this.
All right, so Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's statement that I'm responsible for the 9/11 attacks from A to Z, so that could be thrown out, that evidence could be thrown out, that admission could be thrown out as inadmissible because he will have the same rights as every American citizen, even though he's not, and even though historically, from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War to World War II, we use these military tribunals. So that's what the American people need to know about this?
That's right. The other thing they need to know is that he will have massive discovery rights. He will get into this U.S. court, into this civilian court. He's already attempted to plead guilty, so he has no defense here. So clearly what his attorneys will try to do, what he'll try to do if he represents himself, is put the U.S. government on trial, demand access to classified material. We've seen this before. He will certainly get access to some classified material. And it's simply, we have yet to hear a solid explanation explanation from the Obama administration as to why they think it's appropriate to allow the terrorist who slaughtered over 3,000 Americans, the man who's responsible for the murder of Daniel Pearl, to give him a platform to put the U.S. government on trial. There's no answer that I've heard. There's no answer that I can imagine, but they need to be pushed on this point.
Well, you know, the 9/11 Commission report said they were at war with us. We weren't at war with them. We're not at war with them anymore because we don't recognize there's a war on terror. So I think the consequences are predictable. And if America doesn't wake up, I fear for what can happen. But Liz, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
And